to another video. So this week I'm going to be doing another new type of video. This time I'm going to be doing an oil painting, and this is a little bit special because it's actually the second time in my life that I've ever used oil paints. The first ever time I used it was sometime last year, and last year, because it was my first time ever using oil paint, I decided to do what one does and follow a Bob Ross tutorial, but I don't think I posted the artwork anywhere, but it turned out alright. I'm not mad at it, but what I found out to do the Bob Ross method is that you had to use a larger quantity of paint that I was expecting, because he uses his palette knives for a lot of things, and for the palette knives to pick up enough paint you need to have a large volume of paint. And I don't know if you can see from the corner of the screen just how the size of the paint tubes I have are. So the paint tubes I have two sets, and then a spare tube of Winsor Newton white, but I didn't use the spare tube of Winsor Newton white, I just used the white that came with the one set. So I had the one set that was given to me by a friend from school because her sister bought it, and she said that her sister was never going to use it, so she thought I might as well make some use out of it. And then the other set of oil paints I have it says it's Winsor & Newton, but I doubt it's Winsor & Newton because I got it off Wish and it was very inexpensive. I don't even remember how much it cost. So the two primary paints that I used were the ones that my friend gave me that her sister wasn't going to use, and then the Wish Winsor & Newtons. And I used the Wish Winsor & Newtons because there was only one kind of crimson shade from the set that my friend gave me, and I need more reds than that to do skin tones. And then the mixing medium that I used was some linseed oil, and that was also what came in with the set that my friend gave me. I have some turpentine as well, but the linseed oil was enough to do this painting, so I didn't really have to break into that. I actually used the bottle of turpentine that I have to prop up my painting, because it was just easier to see without the light reflecting from where I was sitting, to have it a little propped up. And it does look a little bit darker in the video when I do prop it up because of the way it's tilted, but I feel like it's still very easy to see what I'm doing where and how it looks. And then obviously I do a final pan with it laying flat so you can get a full view of all the lights. But yeah, anyway, this is my second attempt ever at doing oil paintings, like I said, so I really do not consider myself even mildly knowledgeable in this, but I had a lot of fun actually, and I really like the way that you can continue blending, and I really like how it can still show up as the color you want it to show up as, even when it's very thin. If you mix it with a lot of oil, I really enjoyed that about it. And I also really liked how the mixing worked. It was just super intuitive. With acrylic paint, sometimes mixing doesn't work how you want it to, but I found it really intuitive, and it was really kind of forgiving in a sense, because I don't know, I would accidentally smudge some of the hair color into the skin color and shit. My character has dark hair, by the way, so it would kind of oh no, and if it were in watercolors, it would basically ruin the whole piece if I can't lift it in time. And if it were acrylics, then it'd just be oh, got to wait for it to dry, and then I have to do 50 million layers of the light color to make sure it's properly covered and stuff like that. So in the case of oils, it wasn't really a big deal. It was just kind of smudge it into until you can barely see it, and then put a little bit of lighter colour back on top, and then it kind of worked. I also liked in oil paints that you could hide your pencil lines, but you could still see your pencil lines enough to still kind of know where they are, so you don't get too lost. With watercolor, it's kind of impossible to get rid of pencil lines fully unless you make them really, really faint. And pencil also likes to smudge with water, but then also with acrylics, as soon as your pencil lines are gone, they're gone in 2 layers at the latest, unless you work really, really thin. Pencil lines don't survive at all when you're doing acrylics, so you kind of have to know where you're putting things before you cover your pencil line, or any it's just, I find it really hard to stick to my guides with acrylic because it's just so easy to hide it. But with oil, it's really nice. But the fact that oil takes so long to dry, I only really did do the one session on this painting, and it was about 2 hours, so it was the 2 hours worth of painting. But then even as I'm doing this voiceover, the painting's just sat there still dripping wet basically. If I touched it, it would smudge completely, just because oil takes so long to dry. So some of the pencil lines are still visible in the final, and I would say that it's because it's only kind of like one layer of paint, even though it's quite a couple layers of paint, but it was one painting session worth of paint. I feel like if in a week or so when it's drier, if I were to like pick up the painting and then add more to it, then I would be able to finish masking all the pencil lines and kind of just tweak some things and do a lot of stuff. But because it's only my second attempt at oil painting, I don't necessarily find myself wanting to take on a multi-week-long project kind of thing. I definitely want to do that in the future, but then for that I kind of want to pick a more kind of adventurous subject. Like, this is literally just a portrait. I've mentioned before that when I'm trying to get into a new medium, or when I'm trying to get out of art block or something like that, I try to draw the thing that's the furthest into my comfort zone as possible, and that usually involves either a chibi or a portrait. So in this case it's a portrait of my character Cinza, and I actually haven't drawn Cinza that much. I think I've only drawn her like maybe 4 or 5 times, and I made her at least 4 years ago. Like, I made her at least 4 years ago. I've only drawn her like 4 or 5 times, but she's basically just like my cat-human hybrid that I made when I was like 17, because all my friends had animal-human hybrid characters, so it's like, oh, I'll make one. And her name, Cinza, is the Portuguese word for grey, and I chose that word because she has grey hair, so why not Cinza? But yeah, overall I'm actually really happy with this painting. It was like a really interesting experiment. On the upper left you can see a little glass container thing that has bubbles in it, and that's kind of my DIY oil paint cleaning solution that I googled. And the first time that I did the oil painting thing following the Bob Ross tutorial, it worked for me. So it's basically some water, some dish soap, and then some vegetable oil. I used corn oil so that I use that to clean off my brushes. It's one of them brush cleaner things that's got the coil, that's like a wire coil with I think like a silicone type thing on the outside, so like you've got the little shape there that helps you like rub the brush against it so it gets clean. And then I have a second container which is water, so I can rinse out the soap and then dry it off before using the brush again. But yeah, we're pretty close to wrapping up to the speed paint. I had a lot of fun working with oil paints, and I'm really interested in working with them in the future. I kind of want to buy some new brushes that work well with oil paints before I get into that, just because I felt a little bit limited with the brushes that I had. Most of them came from the set that my friend gave me, which I'm very thankful to. But yeah, this is my character Cinza done in oil paintings in my second ever attempt at an oil painting illustration. Let me know what you think, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.